All right, and we are live. And welcome to another episode of the 265 Club. It's your boy AB, and we got King Diamond Eye here with me. How you doing, my man?
I'm doing well, doing well. It's right around the best holiday of the year. Finally
Yeah,
get to eat and grub, so I'm very excited. Uh,
Thanksgiving is always a good one. I think you're on your wrong mic there.
uh-huh.
By now.
There you go. There you go.
It's the
Had
system.
an imposter. Thought it was AI on the other side. You never know these days. Yeah, you never know these days. So I see you're preparing for Thanksgiving. Then I'm sure you gotta. Are you cooking yourself, or what are you doing? What are your Thanksgiving plans?
Oh no, we going over the relative's house, but I might I might bless the family with a dish, a special dish or something new. I might try out, see how it works, and then if the family likes it, of course, I always do it to where I try it the way that the instructions is, and then see how good it is, and then I have my own little twist, my own little spin off to it, see how well, and then go from there. So yeah, we're going over to relatives' house. I'm not cooking. If I do, it's just a side. So I'm very thankful because I think it's been a minute since I cooked Thanksgiving dinner, but that one I did the whole dinner by myself, and yeah, boy, nope, never again.
Never doing that again. Well, if you make a side, what side you gonna make?
Um, I'm not. I'm not touching mac and cheese because there's already people making it, and I don't want to hurt their feelings with my chef kiss on the mac and cheese. So I don't know yet. I might do like something simple, like maybe some beans or something like that. Nothing too crazy, but something that you might be able to eat just by itself, or it might be a amazing side to go with the turkey and the ham and the rest of the combination of stuff. But it ain't gonna just be no regular uh baked beans or something like that. It's gonna be a little.
Baked beans? Are you having a barbecue? Wait, what's going on?
I'm just saying it ain't gonna be no typical stuff. It's gonna be something you're gonna be like, what is this? And then you're gonna try and be like, oh, that's on point. That's on point. So we'll
Okay,
see.
all right, all right. Yeah, I'm not cooking either. We're going to the Berg, so we'll be touched down there. Maybe I'll catch a Steelers game, I would like to, but I don't think we're gonna have time. So, but I wouldn't mind. Marquise
Yeah,
said
see,
good beans. All right.
don't
I
knock it
guess to
till you try.
each his own. I guess there are people who do like baked beans for Thanksgiving.
Like I said, it's not gonna be baked beans, is what I'm telling you, but it's gonna be a special dish. You might have some beans in it. I'll post it, and then I'll let you see what it was.
All
So
right. Yeah, yeah. You gotta show us what you cooking, because you be claiming that you the chef, So
I
I
really
want.
am. I'm the chef. I'm the baker. I'm top notch. When I'm well rounded when it comes to the kitchen. I just hate cleaning the kitchen, so I don't like. That's the only downfall of me cooking.
Yeah, the cleanup is the worst. Me and Monica have basically like a trade off. So whoever cooks, the other person got to
Yeah.
clean up. That's what we usually do at the house. So um, yeah, the cleanup is worse. Like, and my Monica always says is like, if you clean up as you go, then there's nothing to clean up. But it's like you don't want to have to do that because you're focused on making the food as good as you can, right?
Hmm.
That's the chef part. So it's like that's why they have the shoe chefs and the dishes people. What are they called? Bussers. Who are the people that wash the dishes? Is that the bussers?
Hmm.
Yeah, I got the bussers. They make minimum wage, but they help clean the kitchen up, so the chef don't got to worry about that. So, but yeah. So yeah, we'll be in Pittsburgh, and yeah, typical Thanksgiving, just spending time with family. Nothing
Y'all going to
serious.
your mom's or your grandma's house?
We'll be at my mom's house, but it's my mom's having like everybody at there, so it's gonna be it should be nice. It's good to see family. Nothing bad has happened. Most a lot of times you don't get to see all your family unless like you're at a funeral or something like that. So it's a positive thing to get everybody together. So I'm excited.
Yeah, and got a lot to be thankful this year, you know, because there's crazy things going on in this world. So,
Wow. Wow. So
like you said, when you can get everyone together, now I mean, like typically it starts off well until you know families start playing games and stuff, and then it goes off the record because you know people be getting mad about losing games and stuff like that. So
yeah.
that's the only downfall of getting family together.
Yeah. Game of spades or Uno
Mhm. Or dominoes.
goes left quick.
Yeah.
Goes left quick. But how was your week? Also, I forget, I didn't even ask you that. How was your
For the
week? We
most part,
didn't record last week, so you got a double week.
yeah, I know. Week was pretty good. I ended up getting sick. I don't know who or what from. I don't know if it was. I don't know what kid brought it in, but I don't wish it on nobody because that one was horrible. I was I was indisposed for a series of days, and I was like, oh, this is horrible. And then what sucked is was like I most of the time I work from home, or at least because it's the holidays. I've been working from home most of the weeks, so it was like I didn't really have like I didn't want to use sick time because I was like I could still work, but it was like even when I was at work, I was like I'm miserable. Like we had meetings and stuff like that, and it was like they were like, Malcolm, you got anything to say? It's like I'm just gonna shut up and color right now. And they were like, oh yeah, I forgot he's sick. I was like, yeah, I don't want to say anything to go off. And, you know, I'm not feeling well, so you know, I'm very irritable when I'm sick. So I'll say I'll be unprofessional real quick. The military version of me will come in, and then they'd be like, ugh, we shouldn't say that things like that, and then there'd be a whole nother meeting that I gotta sit into because something I said. So other than that, week's pretty good. Um, Mars youth football team, they made it. Two of the grades made it to the Super Bowl, so that's this weekend. Then we got my youngest daughter's birthday is this Sunday, so I'm on daddy duty this weekend. But hopefully after this weekend, well, this weekend, then of course you got Thanksgiving, and then after Thanksgiving, everything should trickle down, and I should be able to finally relax and actually sit in front of a TV for a weekend for once. But we'll see. What about you?
This week was brutal for us. We had a flu outbreak.
We'll see.
So yeah, I didn't get sick though. So I stayed in the living room. I just played doctor, but I slept in the living room.
Yeah,
Oh
you got.
yeah, no, I wasn't doing it, dog. I wasn't getting sick, so I just slept in the living room the whole week. And I played doctor, you know, delivering the medicine, running to the store if they needed something. But yeah, it was a flu outbreak. They're lucky I didn't have a one of those hazmat suits on, you know, with the gas mask. I almost
Mm.
went, you know, almost went and got one. But
And
yeah,
that's the crazy part because I'm like I rarely get sick. Like I'm the last person to get sick, and even if I do get sick, like with my little, I have like a regimen that I do. I'm usually within like 24, I would say 36 hours. I'm fine. Like I'm back to normal. This one, I don't know what virus, but my stomach was, it was like a week long, and I was just like, oh Lord, like, but I don't know. But there's multiple things going around, and it's just like there's nothing you could do. So
yeah.
just
And I knew it was bad. I knew it was gonna be bad because Dakota normally like she gets up routinely at like 7:30, maybe 8 if she stayed up a little longer, you know. But it was Monday. It was like 7:30. She was not awake, and I was like, "Oh no!" Like anytime that she's not up, it's like her normal bedtime. I was like, "Here we go." Walk in there, but she's still asleep. I put my hand on her, but back of her head, literally, like a fireball, like someone just lit her on fire. I was like, "Nope." Get the thermometer. Monica gets the thermometer, takes her temperature, like 103 point something. So she stayed home. Couldn't get the fever to break. You know, was doing the Tylenol every 3 or 4 hours or whatever the back of the thing said. So we called the doctor. Was like, hey, we can't get this to break. Blah blah blah. Go into the pediatrician, whatever, and they're like, yeah, she's got the flu. Come home. Monica comes home from the doctor. And she's like, I don't feel good. I was like, oh, here we go. Here we go. Literally, she's done. The next day, she's sick. Now she's sick. Dakota's sick. I'm sitting around here. I'm running from room to room. Like, you good? You good? You need to sweat on your
You good? Or you all you don't even go in the room. You just
Lysol in one hand.
throw it in the room and then run out. It's like, oh,
No,
there you
I
go.
had the Lysol bottle in one hand. I'd be like, "You good?" You know, I run out of the other room. Be like, "You good?" So
Coming in.
yeah.
I'm coming into the door. First step in.
Yeah,
First step in. Sanitize.
it was rough. So we made it through though. Everybody's feeling better. So, but yeah, that wasn't good. But and fantasy update, I won once again. I am now on a 4-game. Now I'm on a streak. I'm on a 4-game. Even the fantasy league owner was like, "Devastating news is streaking now." So I'm 7-3. I clinched a playoff spot.
Okay.
So yeah, so I was happy. I don't know who I play this week. Do I play this week? I think I play this week. Hold on. Let me see. Hold on, y'all. I gotta look to see if I play this week. I already had a bye. I don't think you get 2 buys. Let me see.
You should. How many people are in your league? 10?
8.
Oh yeah, you got another buy.
No, I do play this week. I play he's 4-6. So
Don't sleep on them 4 and 6. You take it easy. They gonna come out and spank that butt.
Yeah, I had one player play already, so it looks like I'm projected to win though. So we'll see. It's not a beat down. Last week I was projected to win pretty bad, so and that I actually only barely won. I only beat him like 15.
Never go off them projections. You always got to do it like game by game. Like
Yeah.
soon as Thursday goes, you got to see, all right, who did he got? Who did I got? Well, all right, what points do I got? And then you just got to hope. You got to hope and pray that whatever the projections is, excuse me, that they're like literally like barely under the projection or they exceed past that. And it's like it's certain players, like mostly like your tight ends, your kickers and stuff like that. You want them to like either be like right under or above their projections. Everybody else, like your quarterbacks, because they're gonna be highly ranked, or they're gonna get you some points, and sometimes your running backs, but the projections that they be having you stressed out over there. You're like,
I feel like what I have noticed, and then we'll get into the topic, but what I have noticed is that if your quarterback starts out as a bad week, it's almost pretty much impossible to win because they score a majority of the points for you. And Justin Herbert had a bad week last week, or no, I had to.
it was 2 weeks ago. I think it was Jacksonville.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago he had a bad week against because I think he has a bye this week, and I thought I wasn't gonna win because he had a horrible game. He scored like 8 points, and so I was like, oh no, this ain't looking good. But the rest of my team pulled up enough to where I still ended up winning.
Oh, that's good.
So yeah, so I'm excited. But all right, y'all. So we're gonna get into our discussion. I know normally go Colts. Good. They're actually having a pretty good year this year, the Colts. So yeah, they're looking to be pretty decent. But we got a pretty good. I know normally we do the person thing, but this week I actually found something a little different. It's a TED Talk, but I'll go first. It's not too long. It's only 12 minutes, so I'm gonna share my screen, and then you could go since you went first last week.
Look at you being considerate. I appreciate that.
Hey, no problem, man. I already got you. It's an interesting TED Talk about perspective and positivity. I thought it was pretty good, so let's take a roll. It's only 12 minutes, so I won't be here long. Let's go.
When I was 7 years old and my sister was just 5 years old, we were playing on top of a bunk bed. I was 2 years older than my sister at the time. I mean, I'm 2 years older than her now, but at the At the time, that meant she had to do everything that I wanted to do, and I wanted to play war. So we were up on top of our bunk beds, and on one side of the bunk bed, I had put out all my G.I. Joe soldiers and weaponry, and on the other side were all my sister's Milos and ponies and ready for a cavalry charge. There are differing accounts of what actually happened that afternoon, but since my sister is not here with us today, let me tell you the true story. Which is my sister is a little bit on the clumsy side, and somehow, without any help or push from her older brother at all, suddenly Amy disappeared off the top of the bunk bed and landed with us crash on the floor. And I nervously peered over the side of the bed to see what had befallen my fallen sister, and saw that she had landed painfully on her hands and knees on all fours on the ground. I was nervous because my parents had charged me with making sure that my sister and I played as safely and as quietly as possible. And seeing as how I had accidentally broken Amy's arm just 1 week before, heroically pushing her out of the way of an oncoming imaginary sniper bullet, for which I have yet to be thanked. I was trying as hard as I could. She didn't even see it coming. I was trying as hard as I could to be on my best behavior, and I saw my sister's face this wail of pain and suffering and surprise, threatening to erupt from her mouth and threatening to wake my parents from the long winter's nap for which they had settled. So I did the only thing my little frantic 7-year-old brain could think to do to avert this tragedy. If you have children, you've seen this hundreds of times before. I said, Amy, wait, don't cry, don't cry. Did you see how you landed? No human lands on all fours like that. Amy, I think this means you're a unicorn. Now that was cheating, because there's nothing in the world my sister would want more than not to be Amy the hurt 5-year-old little sister, but Amy the special unicorn. Of course, this was an option that was open to her brain at no point in the past, and you could see on my poor, manipulated sister's face conflict, as her little brain attempted to devote resources to feeling the pain and suffering surprise she just experienced, or contemplating her newfound identity as a unicorn. And the latter won out. Instead of crying, instead of ceasing our play, instead of waking my parents with all the negative consequences that would have ensued for me, instead, a smile spread across her face, and she scrambled right back up onto the bunk bed with all the grace of a baby unicorn. With one broken leg. What we stumbled across at this tender age of just 5 and 7, we had no idea at the time, was something that was going to be at the vanguard of a scientific revolution occurring 2 decades later in the way that we look at the human brain. What we had stumbled across is something called positive psychology, which is the reason that I'm here today and the reason that I wake up every morning. When I first started talking about this research outside of academia, out with companies and schools, the very first thing they said to never do is to start your talk with a graph. The very first thing I wanted to do is start my talk with a graph. This graph looks boring, but this graph is the reason that I get excited and wake up every morning. And this graph doesn't even mean anything. It's fake data. What we found is if I got this data back studying you here in the room, I would be thrilled, because there's very clearly a trend that's going on there, and that means that I can get published, which is all that really matters. The fact that there's one weird red dot that's up above the curve, there's one weird in the room, you know who you are, I saw you earlier. That's no problem. That's no problem, as most of you know, because I can just delete that dot. I can delete that dot because that's clearly a measurement error, and we know that's a measurement error because it's messing up my data. So one of the very first things that we teach people in economics and statistics and business and psychology courses is how, in a statistically valid way, do we eliminate the weirdos? How do we eliminate the outliers? So that we can find the line of best fit, which is fantastic if I'm trying to find out how many Advil the average person should be taking, too. But if I'm interested in potential, if I'm interested in your potential, or for happiness, or productivity, or energy, or creativity, what we're doing is we're creating the cult of the average with science. If I ask a question like, how fast can a child learn how to read in a classroom? Scientists change the answer to, how fast does the average child learn how to read in that classroom? And then we tailor the class right towards the average. Now, if you fall below the average on this curve, then psychologists get thrilled, because that means you're either depressed, or you have a disorder, or hopefully both. We're hoping for both, because our business model is if you come into a
Quickly, by now, I'll put it back on, though. I think one of the key points, sorry, I'm trying to get the right screen back up, but one of the key points he made, and I think this is key on today's society, is when you don't feel like you fit in the norm, there's something wrong with you. And I feel like social media, especially like the TikTok scrolling, the Instagram shorts, someone's always trying to diagnose themselves or say there's something wrong with them when it's not necessarily that at all. People process information differently. You may not process that information. You may not understand a situation the same way one person does to another, but it doesn't mean there's something diagnosed wrong with you. There doesn't mean you're depressed. It doesn't mean you're necessarily sad. And when you come into agreement with that type of stuff, it affects you. It turns into those things that were never actually there in the first place. And I felt like that was a really good point you made. So I just wanted to stop there. All right, putting it back on.
Therapy session with one problem, we want to make sure you leave knowing you have 10. So you'll keep coming back over and over again. We'll go back into your childhood if necessary, but eventually what we want to do is to make you normal again. But normal is merely average. And what I posit, and what positive psychology posits, is that if we study what is merely average, we will remain merely average. Then instead of deleting those positive outliers, what I intentionally do is come into a population like this one and says, why? Why is it that some of you are so high above the curve in terms of your intellectual ability, athletic ability, musical ability, creativity, energy levels, your resiliency in the face of challenge, your sense of humor? Whatever it is, instead of deleting you, what I want to do is study you. Because maybe we can glean information, not just how to move people up to the average, but how we can move the entire average up at our companies and schools worldwide. The reason this graph is important to me is when I turn on the news, it seems like the majority of the information is not positive. In fact, it's negative. Most of it's about murder, corruption, diseases, natural disasters, and very quickly, my brain starts to think that's the accurate ratio of negative to positive in the world. What that's doing is creating something called the medical school syndrome, which if you know people who have been to medical school during the first year of medical training, as you read through a list of all the symptoms and diseases that could happen, suddenly you realize you have all of them. I have a brother-in-law named Bobo, which is a whole nother story. Bobo married Amy the unicorn. Bobo called me on the phone from Yale Medical School. And Bobo said, Sean, I have leprosy. Which even at Yale is extraordinarily rare. But I had no idea how to console poor Bobo because he had just gotten over an entire week of menopause. See, what we're finding is not necessarily the reality that shapes us, but the lens through which your brain views the world that shapes your reality. And if we can change the lens, not only can we change your happiness, we can change every single educational and business outcome at the same time. When I applied to Harvard, I applied on a dare. I didn't expect to get in, and my family had no money for college. When I got a military scholarship 2 weeks later, they allowed me to go. Suddenly something that wasn't even a possibility became a reality. When I went there, I assumed everyone else would see it as a privilege as well, that they'd be excited to be there. Even if you're in a classroom full of people smarter than you, you'd be happy just to be in that classroom, which is what I felt. But what I found there is while some people experienced that, when I graduated after my 4 years and then spent the next 8 years living in the dorms with the students, Harvard asked me to. Wasn't that guy. But what happened... I was an officer of Harvard to counsel students through the difficult 4 years, and what I found in my research and my teaching is that these students, no matter how happy they were with their original success of getting into the school, 2 weeks later their brains were focused not on the privilege of being there, nor on their philosophy or their physics. Their brain was focused on the competition, the workload, the hassles, the stresses, the complaints. When I first went in there, I walked into the freshman dining hall, which is where my friends from Waco, Texas, which is where I grew up, I know some of you have heard of it. When they come to visit me, they look around, they say, this freshman dining hall looks like something out of Hogwarts from the movie Harry Potter, which it does. This is Hogwarts from the movie Harry Potter, and that's Harvard. And when they see this, they say, Sean, why do you waste your time studying happiness at Harvard? Seriously, what does a Harvard student possibly have to be unhappy about? Embedded within that question is the key to understanding the science of happiness. Because what that question assumes is that our external world is predictive of our happiness levels. When in reality, if I know everything about your external world, I can only predict 10% of your long-term happiness. 90% of your long-term happiness is predicted not by the external world, but by the way your brain processes the world. And if we change it, if we change our formula for happiness and success, what we can do is change the way that we can then affect reality. What we found is that only 25% of...
Another good point there is what truly is success. I think a lot of times, especially like in America, we equivalate success to money and fame, fortune, a successful business, and that's all good and well. Like if you start a business, you want it to be successful. That's a great thing to achieve. But if those are the only things you strive for, then you're gonna have an up and down automatically. So I think in America, we've kind of lost the value of the family system, and being happy with sometimes not necessarily having a lot, but just having enough. It's okay to just have enough and not have an excess. And so I like that point that he made, that you have to quantify what that means to yourself. Go ahead.
I was going to say, excuse me, my bad. Why don't you give an example that you feel is
Say that one more time.
How about you give an example that you feel is successful? How you feel like you're successful?
Yeah. Okay. Good question. I would say I feel like I'm successful because I enjoy the work I do. I know that kind of sounds generic, but I think that a lot of people have jobs that they're not happy with, or they're just doing it because they need money. But I have a job that I'm happy with. I wake up, I don't necessarily, it has its ups and downs. Don't get me wrong. I'm not gonna sit here and say it's the perfect job. I got supervisor sometimes it gets on my nerves, whatever. I can rant and rave, but for the most part, I'm happy with my work. I have a family, and I have a family that I love, and I know that they love me, and that we support each other. Um, like my wife, she's going to law school right now, and I'm supporting her and her dreams, and just no matter how difficult or hard it gets, it's successes we're still having success in my eyes because we're going after the things we want in life, and we are at least achieving them in some way. To some people, it may not be, oh, you didn't go to Harvard or you didn't go to Yale, or that they worry about the prestige. But, at the end of the day, I'm still a cybersecurity professional. I didn't have to go to Johns Hopkins to be there. And Monica's going to be a law lawyer. Excuse me, let's say a law student. Is going to be a lawyer no matter. Yeah, she is right now. But Monica's still going to be a lawyer no matter where she went and no matter how she did it. And I think just getting to the point that you say, hey, this is where I want to be, is success. No matter how you get there, that's the success part, is that you made it there. You may not have made it there the way somebody else told you should get there, but you did make it there. So then you can turn around, and I've kind of full circle on the podcast, doing things maybe not in the traditional way, but you did it, right? I could still say I did it. And being able to help those people, I feel like that's success in my eyes. Hey, I'm a cyber professional. You want to get into cyber? Sure, I can help you. I just helped my friend get a job at my company a couple weeks ago. He got hired. So I feel like being a help to the community of the people around you, that's success in my eyes as well too.
Okay.
All right. Did you want to answer the question?
I'll wait to finish because the echo video.
Gotcha. Let me put it back on. It's only like 4 minutes left, so it's almost over. All right.
Job successes are predicted by IQ. 75% of job successes are predicted by your optimism levels, your social support, and your ability to see stress as a challenge instead of as a threat. I talked to a boarding school up in New England, probably the most prestigious boarding school, and they said, we already know that. So every year, instead of just teaching our students, we also have a wellness week, and we're so excited. Monday night, we have the world's leading expert coming in to speak about adolescent depression. Tuesday night is school violence and bullying. Wednesday night's eating disorders. Thursday night is illicit drug use. And Friday night, we're trying to decide between risky sex or happiness. I said that's most people's Friday nights. Which I'm glad you liked, but they did not like that at all. Silence on the phone. And into the silence, I said, I'd be happy to speak at your school, but just that's not a wellness week, that's a sickness week. What you've done is you've outlined all the negative things that can happen, but not talked about the positive. The absence of disease is not health. Here's how we get to health. We need to reverse the formula for happiness and success. In the past 3 years, I've traveled to 45 different countries, working with schools and companies in the midst of an economic downturn. And what I found is that most companies and schools follow a formula for success, which is this: if I work harder, I'll be more successful. And if I'm more successful, then I'll be happier. That undergirds most of our parenting styles, our managing styles, the way that we motivate our behavior. And the problem is, it's scientifically broken and backwards for 2 reasons. First, every time your brain has a success, you just change the goalpost of what success looked like. You got good grades, now you have to get better grades. You got into a good school, now you have to get a better school. You got a good job, now you have to get a better job. You hit your sales target, we're going to change your sales target. And if happiness is on the opposite side of success, your brain never gets there. What we've done is we've pushed happiness over the cognitive horizon as a society. And that's because we think we have to be successful, then we'll be happier. But the real problem is our brains work in the opposite order. If you can raise somebody's level of positivity in the present, then their brain experiences what we now call a happiness advantage, which is your brain at positive performs significantly better than it does at negative, neutral, or stressed. Your intelligence rises, your creativity rises, your energy levels rise. In fact, what we found is that every single business outcome improves. Your brain at positive is 31% more productive than your brain at negative, neutral, or stressed. You're 37% better at sales. Doctors are 19% faster, more accurate at coming up with the correct diagnosis when positive instead of negative, neutral, or stressed, which means we can reverse the formula. If we can find a way of becoming positive in the present, then our brains work even more successfully as we're able to work harder, faster, and more intelligently. What we need to be able to do is to reverse this formula so we can start to see what our brains are actually capable of. Because dopamine, which floods into your system when you're positive, has two functions. Not only does it make you happier, it turns on all the learning centers in your brain, allowing you to adapt to the world in a different way. We've found that there are ways that you can train your brain to be able to become more positive. In just a 2-minute span of time, done for 21 days in a row, we can actually rewire your brain, allowing your brain to actually work more optimistically and more successfully. We've done these things in research now in every single company that I've worked with, getting them to write down 3 new things that they're grateful for 21 days in a row, 3 new things each day. And at the end of that, their brain starts to retain a pattern of scanning the world not for the negative, but for the positive first. Journaling about one positive experience you've had over the past 24 hours allows your brain to relive it. Exercise teaches your brain that your behavior matters. We find that meditation allows your brain to get over the cultural ADHD that we've been creating by trying to do multiple tasks at once, and allows our brains to focus on the task at hand. And finally, random acts of kindness or conscious acts of kindness. We get people, when they open up their inbox, to write one positive email praising or thanking somebody in their social support network. And by doing these activities and by training your brain, just like we train our bodies, what we found is we can reverse the formula for happiness and success, and in doing so, not only create ripples of positivity, but create a real revolution. Thank you very much.
All right, that was mine. What'd you think? What'd you think?
I mean, he has a lot of good point of views. A lot of the, I wouldn't say self-improvement books, but a lot of like getting to where you want to go and stuff like that. It always starts with your mindset, and then you have to like train your mind to do something that, you know, you've never been taught how to do. So a lot of the gratitude, the meditations, the positive mindsets. I mean, we say it all the time, positive mindsets make positive outcomes. And there's, like you said, there's scientific truth in it. And mostly like every successful person has an outline on how they were successful. And it's always, it was always positive mindsets, because, you know, when stuff does go negative, or, you know, when stuff goes left, when you think it's supposed to go right, or, you know, it just atomic bomb just blows in your face, you got to have the mindset and the motivation to continue to go. And that's how most people become successful. So I think that there's everything he said was a nail on the coffin, especially with speakers like that, when you can get your audience amused and interested in and laughing. And I think in any type of subject, you grasp their attention 10 times more than you just sitting there reading off whatever is on the screen behind you. So because he was able to get them laughing and mix in jokes into it, then he grasped his audience's attention to where they actually will learn more from this presentation than probably like every other presentation that probably was set for that date.
Yeah, that was an old TED Talk from 2011, but it was very good. I liked a lot of what he said about, you know, it's the lens you view life through. That's the most important. And I think that is the most important thing that we try to emphasize, is that, like, look, it's about how you view your path. It's not necessarily about what other people say, but it's how you look at it. If you feel like you've reached success, then you have success. If you feel like you haven't reached success, you know, you have to look internally to figure out, why do I feel unfulfilled? But I think if you focus too much on the prestige and the names and the glory, you get to, and that's exactly what he said, you move the goalposts. Well, I opened this clothing store, I sold 1 million shirts, shoes, whatever. I sold 1 million units. Now I got to sell 10 million. Now 10 million turns to 100 million. 100 million turns to 1 billion. You know, you'll never be satisfied that way. So you have to, change your mindset, rewire your mind to be like, you know what? I live in abundance. I can help people. I can reach out to other people. What more can I ask for? Why do I need to sell 1 billion? I mean, it's nice. It's cool. It's a good accolade to have on. It's a good notch on the belt. But what is it? What does it mean? What does that actually mean? So
Yeah, I mean everyone in Wall Street and down to Joe Schmo always has that number. Like if they reach that number, then they're set for life or whatever. And it just depends on that individual. Like you said, we always gonna move the goalpost, but that's just the nature of the beast. Is just because when you expect excellence, and you achieve it, it's like it's that dopamine does come into your brain and your mindset to where it's like, all right, I reached the moon. Let's see where else, how far I can go. Like, what is the Greek mythology of what is it, Iris that wanted to touch the sun or whatever, and he was flying or whatever, and his father's like, don't fly too high. Don't reach for the sun, you're gonna burn yourself, and ended up burning his wings and crashed and all that stuff. So uh we have that mindset of like trying to exceed past our limitations, and it's a blessing and a curse. But like you said, at that point we have to figure out what else fulfillment will we get from satisfying that itch, that craving to go higher than what we needed to go higher. I know we're jumping back, but basically the question that I asked originally was like, what's your sign of success, and like how do you determine it? And mine is I came from two parents that they grew up poor. They didn't grow up very successful. They didn't have no 401ks. They didn't have uh, life insurances that were passed down from one family member to the next. Most my grandparents, my grandfather came from farmers. My grandmother on my mom's side was English, so they bounced around, did a whole bunch of stuff. So my mom grew up with chickens in her backyard because that's what it was cheaper to raise chickens and use them that way than to go to the grocery store and buy groceries. So, and then my dad's one of 9 kids. So it's like my parents knew what all parents knew. It was like hard work and dedication. So it was like my parents grinded their way throughout life. It's like now that they're in their, 60s, now they're starting to enjoy the life that they obtained. But it's like, so for me, it's like working work exceeding pat. Like I've always said this in a lot of our podcasts. It's like your parents can only reach a certain level, like in life, however high that is, and then it's like your job is to exceed past what your parents' limitations were to get to the next level, and then of course you pass it on. To me, that's how you create generational wealth. So it's like there's things in my life that I know that my parents didn't know nothing about. Like my parents knew about credit, but they didn't know like the benefits or how to manipulate the system to increase your credit score very high. Like get a credit card, put a regular bill that you would pay, you normally pay on, put it on the credit card, cut that credit card, pay, set up auto pay uh, for whatever bill that you needed to pay, and then pay that on the credit card, and then pay the credit card off eventually. And then that builds up your credit to where your credit score increases, or, stocks and stuff like that. So it's like, for me, success is just being able to appreciate what my parents did and take it to the next level to where now I can appreciate how far I came based on what my parents could do, and then elevate my kids to go elevate my kids to get way past as far as I can go. So it's like, I'm very content with my life. Like you said, we were able to do things. We didn't do everything. We did everything unorthodox. Not everything like, yeah, we graduated high school, but from that point on, we didn't go straight to college. I went to community college for a little bit. Then I was like, I felt out of place because like they put you in like these like how to be a college student, and I took AP classes. So it was like I was taking classes that I already took in high school, and it was like it was a waste of time. Like I felt like I was just wasting funds and wasting time to go to a community college to get my prereqs to go to a major university. So then my parents uh always advised it was 4 years of college or 4 years of military. So the next option was I didn't want to be in the area where I wanted to be anymore. I was like, I gotta get the hell out of here. So I was like, it's time to go. So I jumped ship, joined the military, and then got sent to the military. And then I didn't know, like, I knew we had the GI Bill, but I didn't know nothing about tuition assistance until I got into tech school. And one of my instructors was a Master Sergeant Jones. I'll never forget him because he looked like a chunkier Gary Coleman, but he was funny as all could be. He was like, all my instructors prived on that. They were like, "Hey, as soon as you guys get to your duty stations, make sure you guys get tuition assistance." I was like, "Wait, hold on. You telling me that I get paid, like they pay for my schooling that doesn't touch my GI Bill while I'm in?" And I was like, "Yeah." So first opportunity, I was taking classes like Skittles, bro. Like no one, like when it came to like by the time it came to like promotions and stuff like that, no one was touching me in that category. If I didn't pass, if I didn't get a high rating that year, it was because I didn't do a lot of volunteer work, or I didn't do this ceremony for this, general or whatever. It was education. They couldn't. I was demolishing everyone in education because I was taking those classes as much as possible, to where I already had my goals planned out and everything. So it was like by the time I got out of the military, I had my associates in criminal justice, and then I had my bachelor's in social and criminal justice, to where I was like, I didn't touch my GI Bill. So when I got out, if I didn't want to do that, or I wanted to go a whole nother route, I had full education that I could fall upon and not have to worry about it and stuff like that. So, and then just the grind that I started from when I first originally moved to Houston to now, I'm at a job where, like, like you said, I'm comfortable. Like I enjoy going to work some days. I mean, like everybody has their days where it's like I don't want to go to work. It's just, or I'm not feeling it. But when I get my mindset when I get my mindset is like, today's gonna be a good day. Work flies through. Like I don't have no problems with work. Like I'm getting stuff done quickly as possible. To where it's like now it's like I have a house. I was like my kids, don't do without. They're able to experience things that wasn't able to experience, or they're able to do stuff at a younger age that it took me into like my teens, or even as a grown man to do. So it's like that's my success. And then I obtained so much knowledge that I'm able to pass it down to other people, like you said, and educate my nieces and my nephews, my kids, my friends, relatives and stuff like that, in different aspects that they don't know or what they were never prone to, because there's some things that you were never taught. It's like so it's like that's my level of success, when you can obtain, so you could, yeah, you shoot for the stars and land on the moon, but then you pass down that knowledge for everyone to land on the moon with you. Because it's like we always say, it takes a community, to you need more people. The more people you can put in your camp, and they all can gain the same skills as you, or bring something to the table, the more successful you'll be. So that's my line of success, is just elevating from where I came from, and then passing that knowledge down to the next person. So I guess it's almost similar to yours, but I guess in a different terminology.
Yeah, I would say that if I could sum up it would be, when you can help somebody else, you probably succeeded. Passing down, or being a help to not just your family, but to the strangers. It's fulfilling, to be like, hey, you know what? I can help you with XYZ, even if it's financial. Like I can give that person some money. I can give that person some advice. I can help you get a job. And I think that we a lot of people try to sell those things, like the mentorship. They try to get you to buy into that right now. That's a huge thing. Like, I don't know if you've ever
Take
seen
this
those.
class, well, this
Yeah,
free
the
class,
master
and
classes and
yeah.
that stuff. And there people buy into that because people are looking for mentorship. They're looking for, how can I change my life from the trajectory it's on to this? And so they're selling you a dream. And I mean, maybe it's good intentions, maybe it's not. But I feel like that's not something that you should necessarily sell. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying you should give it out for free to everybody and anybody that is asking for it, but help, I don't think help should cost anything. Help should be free. It's help. I need help with something. I should be able to get it at some way, some point. And if I can get that help, I can change my life, and then I can help somebody else, and it just works its way down. But it
Domino
just,
effect.
yeah, we just don't have that in the United States. We just have like well, I'm trying to get into real estate and flip houses. Well, that's cool. You want to do that? How you going to do that? Oh, I want to play for this $8,000 master class by this guy I've never heard of, who's supposedly a guru, but really he's just some guy who makes great looking videos with CapCut. Does he really know anything? Is he really a house flipper? I'm getting into a tangent, but you know what I'm talking about. So I think,
scammers that you
yeah, the scammers, the Indian scammers are taking over. But yeah, that's what I feel like success is. So
I agree with you. Success, everybody starts at a different starting point, and I think that's what a lot of people fail to realize. And that's one great aspect of the military that we were able to. That's like one caveat of being in the military that not a lot of people get, is because you get people from all different backgrounds, all different economic situations, every religions and all types of that, and you basically you shove them in a room, and you basically be like, all right, you guys got to work together for the next however many days. And it's like, so there's like different learning curves that each group of people, like, can some more people can relate to one situation than another, and vice versa. But you got people from all different backgrounds and ethnicities coming, and you end up becoming a family at the end of the day. Like,
yeah,
the most prime example that I can give is when we were stationed in Kansas. We were in a training room, and I think me and you were looking at what new sneakers that were coming out or whatever, and whatnot. And someone of a different ethnicity was like, why are you guys so fascinated with shoes? Like, I just don't understand why you guys waste your money off of $300-400 on a pair of shoes, and yada yada yada. And it was like, I had to break it down to him. I was like, look, you love guns, right? Yeah, I love guns. So I was like, so if Smith and Wesson came out with this new gun, and the specs of it, the what attachments that can come with it, the calibrations, everything that comes with a gun, that you would want that gun, right? You don't just own one gun, right? You have several different guns that you like, right? I was like, yeah. I was like, it's the same thing. Our hobby with shoes is the same thing. It's the style of the shoe, it's the material that is made out of the shoe, it's the rarity of the shoe itself, it's the designer, how he made that shoe and stuff like that. It's the same type of concept. And then, like, for a minute, like, he sat there for a minute, and then he was like, you know what, I never thought of it like that. I was like, yeah, because a lot of people don't, like, you wouldn't know, because you're not a air quote sneakerhead, so you wouldn't know you think that the $5 pair at Walmart is the same thing, that is the same type of shoe that a Louis Vuitton is, which is like 10 times the cost of the Walmart shoe. And you was like, what's the difference? Which there is a ton of differences when it comes to that. It's mainly just the name of the brand, but you get the gist of what I'm saying. And it's just like, not a lot of people take the time to sit there and find a common ground to where you can translate that to somebody else to where they get it and they understand it. I think that's one thing with especially with success, is when you're able to translate it to multiple in a language that multiple people like a farmer doesn't, you can translate it to a farmer in a way that he can understand it, and he can grasp that concept to where you educated someone on something totally different than what they're accustomed to, but they are able to relate it in terms that they can make sense of it. So I think that's one aspect of the military that I will give credit for, is like you learned how to communicate with a ton of people from different ethnicity backgrounds and social statuses and stuff like that, to where it's like you're more well-rounded than someone that goes to college. Because, like, don't get me wrong, college, you may grasp that for a certain extent, but that's a class that you only take a semester, so it's a couple of months. Where in the military, it's like your every day-to-day operation. So
Yeah, the language of others is like the main military course. Spending time with folks at the gates and the patrol cars and deployed locations.
people that
Trying to talk to people for 14-hour shifts that you
Mhm.
probably have nothing in common with. It. You think you don't, but then after you start having some conversation, you realize I actually do, and I do.
Meeting people that never had a working toilet in their house, they had to go to an outhouse, or someone that driving Maseratis, and their whole family drives Maseratis and BMWs, and they go to Jamaica every Christmas because they don't want to be in the cold, or they go on these family vacations that they've been going for like generations, and you're just happy to go to Disneyland once in your whole life.
Yeah.
So it's like, and then they put you on game on, like, educating you on, like, oh bro, this how you do it, and then you're like, I never knew it that way, or I never saw it, like, I never thought that it was that simple. I thought buying a house was like rocket science, or it was, or getting into the stock markets was so crazy, like you just had to go to school for it. You had to be take a class on it, and it's like, no, it's really not that hard. You just gotta you just translate it to a way that you can make sense of it.
Absolutely.
But I'm gonna make mine quick because we're short on time. I mean, we get into it every once in a while, but mine's basically just piggyback onto the concept of what we have. It's like, it doesn't matter how you start, it's always about how you finish. And hold on. So I did a influential person who failed in life. Well, he really didn't fail, but Albert Einstein. This I didn't know about him. I mean, we all know about him and the Manhattan projects and all that, physics and stuff like that. But apparently he didn't speak until he was 4 years old, which is kind of crazy. And then he didn't learn how to read until he was 7, and was labeled mentally handicapped. And I think that's kind of crazy, just for the simple fact that it's like one of the people that gets so highly recognized for being a genius, and it's like piggybacks to the, you don't have, wherever you start from doesn't dictate your outcome in life. uh we're walking testimonies of that. Apparently he is. I mean, not learning how to read until you're 7 years old, you know how difficult that is. Like, I'm pretty sure he was getting bullied the whole time because he wasn't reading,
Yeah,
or stuff
absolutely.
like that. And then so it's like, and then to be labeled mentally handicapped is like, I mean, we joke around and we used to hard R word around, joking with people, but to that plays a very, that that messes with your psychological process as well, because it's like, when you're getting picked on and you're being called stupid, you like, that takes a lot for you to be like, I'm not stupid, and ignoring that, because like you said, if someone's telling you that you're stupid every day of your life, or you're mentally handicapped, you just believe it, and then you fall into that system of it becomes a crutch more than it becomes um something that you use to motivate yourself. So I think that was super kind of crazy that I was able to learn about Albert Einstein, that, like I said, everybody, the whole world thinks Albert Einstein is this genius because of what he was able to do. And basically he's like the father of physics from whatever excuse me, what everyone believes. And so it's like for him to start off like that, it kind of it's humbling for those people that we try to, motivate here on the podcast and stay like, it doesn't matter that, you grew up from whatever background that you grew up from. It doesn't matter that you're 40-year-old and you're going back to school to learn something new. It's like no matter what your trials and tribulations have brought you to this point in life, you can always write your own story and dictate where you go from there. So that was my little 2 minutes because you used up 75 minutes. No, I'm just playing.
And then,
But
whatever.
it was my little 2-minute quick to the point story.
Am I a Chuck now on ESPN? You're Shaq. It's supposed to be 1 2 1 2 3, not 1 2 back to 1.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
So,
But sometimes you don't. Sometimes you got to speak a lot to expand to get your point across. Sometimes you just need 2 minutes to get your point across. So
yeah.
lessons learned.
Right. So what you're saying is that my point's too convoluted. Gotcha. I gotcha.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying for you to get your message a point, you had to exclude a lot of time where mine was 2 minutes and I'm out. It's like writing a paper. You remember when you used to, another thing is like when AB was going to, when we were going to school, AB would do these papers and then he'd be like, hey, I need you to read it. I need you to read it because I know it's bad. And I would read it and I'd be like, I don't even like, I'm just going to delete this whole paper. Tell me what you're trying to say and I'll write it for you.
The thoughts are there. It's just
It was there. The concepts were there.
It's hard to get them on paper sometimes.
So I had to basically like sit there and translate his meanings and concepts on paper for him because he that was not a strong suit of his.
No. And what's funny is this week I've been I don't know, I know this is not going to make sense to many people, but so in cyber, when you're building your system, you have to, write what they call control answers. It's basically defining your system and how it works, how it operates, your procedures, your policies, right? Different control families operate, govern different parts. So I've been writing these control documents. So I've been kind of having to go into my bag and be like, okay, I got to explain how this works without, putting too much, because like there's thousands. You have to answer like thousands of these. So you want to only answer like probably like 1 or 2 sentences, at max. So sometimes you can't do that. You have to write like a couple.
You gotta elaborate.
Yeah, but so I've been like this week. I'm like, I finally Thursday night I finished. I worked like 50 hours between Monday and Thursday, and I was like, I'm not working at all today. But yeah, sitting there trying to write these answers and be like, I got to get straight to the point, but answer this enough. And it did kind of remind me of like when I was writing, and when my supervisor is always like, you have it up here, he's like, your writing is not, is not the best sometimes. And I was like, yeah, I wasn't good at writing in school either. I was like, but I made it. But I made it. That's all that matters is I graduated.
Yeah. So like I said, I was blessed enough, and it wasn't even just like my mindset. It was, I had a teacher, Miss Cooper. Miss Cooper was one of the English teachers that was like, you're too, like, she was like, nah, this isn't challenging to you. You need to go to your AP classes. And the next, I think it was my freshman year when she was like that. She was like, you like this, this is not, you're way more smarter than this to be going to these basic classes, and put me in AP. And I was like, all right. All I heard was you get the extra 0.2 because it's an honors class. I was like, cool, because with football, if I get that extra 0.2 for the GPA, then football, I'm making grades easier now, And then it was like from there, it was domino effect to where it was just like I'd never got out of AP English. And it was crazy because I've always been good at math too, and they try to put me in like a AP algebra 2, I think it was, or something like that, and it had geometry in it. And me and shapes don't go together. Like math and shapes don't coexist. I don't know. I don't care what anybody says. And it was like I think it was my junior year. I was so upset because it was like I started that class off in a D. I was like, bruh, how do you start? And we used to like our coach was very strict on grades. And like my parents knew, like during the football season, I had A's and B's, like a clockwork. Like you are never gonna get me under a B for any of my classwork during football season. I was not risking not playing. So it was like once football season ended, you could kind of see my grades slip just a little bit. And then it was like, then after winter break, it was like we were starting up for the next season. It was like, boom, we got to get it right back up for the summer or whatever. So when I started off in that class, he like all season long, I had to do conditioning because of grades just for that one class. And I was talking to one of my coaches that did the conditioning. I was like, Coach, I'm not even in this class no more. I started this class off with a D. It was like, don't matter. You are not an exception. So like the whole year I got punished because I took a class that I should have not taken. And I was just like so discouraged. I was just like, man, I went straight to my counselor. I was like, I need to get out of this class like tomorrow. She was like, why? I was like, I'm not grasping this concept. Like I have a D in this class. Like it's not working. And it was crazy because the teacher was like making us have to do like these like homework, like weekend projects and stuff. And it was like, you got to go to these like little mathematician things. I was like, bro, I'm not doing all that extra stuff. Like I'm not above being a student, but I'm an athlete. So I'm having my grades. Don't worry. I'm going to graduate 3.5 or above, but you ain't going to have me doing some extra stuff on top of the extracurricular activities that I got, man. I was like, in this high school, it's like, I have a social life. I'm not trying to spend my weekend doing math. Like, come on, man.
Yeah,
So,
he had you in a chokehold.
But English, I was like, I had some really dope teachers that made like English and college papers and stuff fun. So it was like that was something, and then like they mixed in like debate, so that I love to argue, so that even made it even more interesting to me. So I've always been able to whip out a paper, but
yeah, yep.
give me on some math, I'd be like, all right, I know some of it, most of it, but I ain't doing all that extra stuff.
Social studies and speech; those are my strong points. I loved history classes and I loved just public speaking. I don't know. I was just really good at it. My speech teacher was like, "You should be a politician."
Yeah, because my junior year, like I said, they mixed in debate, and so every quarter, I think, that we used to have new subjects. Like we would have these college debate class like discussions. Like I know one was should performance enhancement drugs be legal? Should college athletes get paid? And then there was like a whole bunch of other stuff. And then so I would always do good in mine. But then like my teacher, if someone's part, because it was we did 2 pro and 2 con. So it was 2 people for con who are against it, and then 2 that was for it. And so if someone didn't one of their partners weren't there, we used to get extra credit for going up and debating it, because we didn't have enough time to basically do the research to argue it one way or another. So your boy was always volunteering. I was like, let me get in here. And then basically I was like a lawyer. I was like, can I get 5 minutes to review the documentation and and my teacher she's always laugh. She was like, go ahead, Malcolm. So I would what do they used to call them back in the days? Was it skip notes? I would skim through the.
No.
I can't remember what it was called, but basically it would give you like the meat and potatoes of like a book or something. I can't. Cliff Notes.
Cliff Notes. Oh yeah.
So I was like, I would always do like the Cliff Notes. I would go through my whoever my partner was paper, and I would like I would read it, and I would focus on one part of the argument, and I'd be like, all right, good. And so I would always sit there and let the other party talk and whatever, and then I would focus on that one topic that I was able to grasp the concept, and I would argue that for like a good like 25 minutes, to the point to where my teacher was like, Malcolm, have you ever thought about going to law school? And I was like, I would love to go to law school, but that's a lot of schooling and that's a lot of money, and I'm not trying to cough up all that bread just to be a lawyer. But I've always been told that because I could argue all day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you do love to argue. But we gotta go. We're 6 minutes over. But we appreciate y'all watching today's episode. We hope you guys took away something good from it. We appreciate those who were in the chat. Shout out to Marquise and everything in potatoes out in Nap. If you need some fries, and he's booming right now. He's got some TikTokers going and seeing them. You saw that? Have you seen those TikTokers that went to his place?
He's on my SHIT list because every time we go out there, something always coming up to where I can't get no fries. I am disgruntled and I am petty, and until I get some fries, I'm gonna still promote and everything like that. But I'm gonna be Oscar the Grouch until I get some everything potato fries. So I love what he's doing.
We gotta make a trip.
I love what he's doing. I see it, and I'm happy for him. But at the same time, I'm a little disgruntled because I want some damn fries.
You heard it here. He got a disgruntled customer over here in Houston, Texas. Marquise, you might want to get on top.
Come out to Houston and do a food fest or something so I can get some fries.
All right, y'all. Peace out. We hope you have a good weekend. We won't be live next week at Thanksgiving, so give us some time with our families. But we will return the following week, Friday, 10 o'clock. You know where to find us: Facebook, YouTube, Twitch. We will be live. Any last words?
Yeah, this is the time to be thankful and to give do good deeds for those that are unfortunate. So always, get out there and help other people. Be appreciative of your family and stuff like that. I know it's always tedious to travel and spending money and doing all this extra stuff to be around family, but you only got them for a certain amount of time. Everybody got an expiration date and you don't know when that is. So enjoy this time of the year and help those people in needs, like whether it's the person on the corner or if it's just someone that can't buy groceries. Everybody's been in them lines where you at the grocery store and the lines damn near in two different aisles because someone bought try to get all these groceries and they trying to use 5 different cards to pay for it. Help them out just a little bit, even if if it's $10, $20, even $5. Just help somebody out in this time of need because everybody needs it. So other than that, as always, positive mindsets make positive outcomes. We have the evidence to support it. But you don't got to go home, but you got to get out of here. So deuces, guys.
Peace out, y'all.